Hello! We're back with another episode of Better Pet Parenting. And today we are going to speak to Anand Vishwanath from Anvis Inc. For those of you who don't know Anvis has been around for the last 10 years or so. They're based in Bangalore. And they do everything from dog walking to grooming to boarding and even overseas transportation. They've also now taken on the humongous role of training pet professionals in this space. So today we're going to speak to Anand and figure out how they've been doing this and everything they've learned along the way. I can see people who know Anand have already joined, which is great. Hi Anand, how are you?
Hey, hi Garima, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well. I was just telling everybody about how you have basically, I didn't even know about the podcast space when you probably started. So I think it'll be good to get, the kind of perspective you have, which is probably very unique in terms of how, it was back when you started and how it's developed over the years and where you see it going as well. So first off, let's start with you and your story, right? Who is Anand and how did Anvis kind of become part of your life?
Okay, Anand is basically, simply put, just a dog lover, right? As my handle says, I have just gone to dogs.
Yeah.
That's who I am, and that really sums up who I am. So, as a kid, I used to be very, very passionate about dogs, and they would always be a part of my life. I was given to understand as a kid, we had a dog, and if they didn't find me at home, they would find me with the dog. So,
Okay.
it started from there. And of course life happened, and I went into corporate and I was doing a few things. I was actually working with a software firm. I was into recruitment basically, so I was heading
Hmm.
recruitment for that. And I just realized that this is not what I wanted to do, and I want to do something more meaningful, something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like really planned, to be very honest. I think I just said that, hey, listen, can I just walk dogs, like 2 3 dogs a day, and I'm sorted for life.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And but yeah, of course, right, one thing led to another, and then I enjoyed what I was doing. And we saw that there were a lot more opportunity, like not just walking. Then we realized that there were pet sitting, people wanted boarding. um, then I did a quick little bit of research on sustainability, survival, and I said, okay, maybe I can make this happen. And one fine day, foolishly, I jumped into this. Yeah. And
No,
I've never
but
looked back
yeah,
after that.
yeah. And this was what year was this when you started off? When you
This was
quit your job and started doing this?
2010. This was in 2010.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
11
yeah,
years coming now.
yeah,
10
yeah.
years
11
already
years.
gone.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm curious. You probably started dog walking out of just like, oh, I want to spend more time with dogs. Did you have a dog at that time as well, or
Oh, yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
did
I
that?
think at that, yeah, I had, I think, about 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. My
Wow.
dog,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I used to be heavily into dog shows and all that at that point in time. So
Okay.
so it would involve training, it would involve genetics, it would involve breeding, it would involve the whole gamut, right?
Uh-huh.
So I was very hugely focused on on dog shows and stuff.
Uh,
But yeah, I think it was more so about that I couldn't give that much time for my own dogs, right? Because my job was such that I was just really very, very caught up with so many things, and
hmm.
I was not justifying the time that I was spending with them. So I
Hmm.
said, maybe I should go ahead and, give this a shot. And that's how I just started walking my dogs. And because at the time I would tell my friends and neighbors, hey, I mean, I don't mind coming and walking your dog. And of course,
Yeah.
they took that opportunity and they said, of course, why don't you come and walk my dog? There's nothing wrong in that. So, yeah, so that's how it really started with walking. And then, of course, I realized that I needed to up my skills. What I'd learned was
Hmm.
mostly from experience and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
went and trained under a very famous personality called John Rogerson in the UK.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So he opened my eyes to a completely different way of handling dogs and the behavior aspect and a lot of things.
Hmm.
Uh, and then of course then we started putting the other things in place. You know, People said that, hey, can you do pet sitting? We said, sure, why not? Somebody said, can you board my dog? Sure, why not? Everything was like that. Someone would come and say, hey, can you do this? And we're like, sure, why not? And that's how
Yeah.
it started. But I mean, after that, you start thinking, right? Where do you really want to put your time and effort into? And
Hmm.
yeah, so that's how services really was born.
Awesome. I have just, while hearing you talk, I have just realized that Anvis is actually your name shortened. I just realized it. I can't believe it slipped me.
No, no, I think I get a lot
Isn't
of
it?
flack from my team for being a narcissist and having my name on the company. So the guys, I'm sure they're watching, and but it was just that we had to come up, like we were coming up, like you know how it is in when you were starting off, right? You want something unique, you want something small, and you
Yeah,
want it to be done like yesterday.
yeah,
So we
yeah.
said, hey, why not just put this in? It's got a nice ring to it, and let's just jump with it. So that's how we went with it. Yeah.
I just
So
realized. I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
no, I
So,
wish people wouldn't
uh,
like make that connection, right? I get very embarrassed when they do. Yeah.
and when did Anvis come into being? So this is you and your journey, right? This is when you started.
Correct. Correct.
When did you incorporate Anvis as something you wanted to do seriously, and then, how did that journey go?
So it was pretty much right. So 2010, this idea was, and we started off, and we were, but I was still working at that point in time. I worked for about, I think, about a year after that,
Hmm.
right, roughly half and half. But we incorporated mid of 2010, early 2011, I think.
Okay,
So more or
okay,
less, I think June, July or something, we sort of did the incorporation. So pretty much it's been I will say pretty much been the same actually.
yeah.
But
And
then full
huh,
fledged, yeah.
and
Sorry,
full
sorry.
fledged was, sorry, no, you go
Full
on.
fledged was, I think we started off on the new year to 2011. I think is when we really like
Got
started
it.
because we had seen that there was a lot of traction, and I
Mm,
didn't know whether I was going back to corporate or whether I wanted to continue. Idea was I wanted to go back to corporate,
yeah.
but thankfully it didn't happen.
I think you made the right choice. Dogs over suits and ties any day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, for everybody watching, who's gonna watch this afterwards as well, what exactly does Anvis do? I know you do a lot of things, but if you had to summarize Anvis in terms of services, in terms of whatever else you do, how would you explain that?
Correct. So, I mean, over the journey, we have done a lot of things, right? We have provided services. We have been like largely into the last few years has largely been into relocation, pet relocation. That's what we have. I have spent a lot of my time doing that. Dog
Right.
walking, pet sitting, home boarding, training, all that has been also a part of it. However,
Mm-hmm.
I think, 20, yeah, 2020, right? Which I think most of us want to forget, but of course, things did change a little bit and services took a beating. So
Okay.
we had to pivot, and then currently, so we went through the whole change and everything. So currently, what we're doing is we have empowered the people who have trained from our academy. So we have an academy where we are training people to become whatever, right? Either you want to
Right.
become a dog walker, pet sitter, home boarder, trainer, relocator, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a platform for these guys, and it's a free platform. So we don't charge commission either from the pet parent or from them. Just
Right.
make the connection for them, but we just want to make sure that the people who get onto the platform really are passionate, right? So we want to see that connection that we saw, right? We're going back to that 10 years back in time. The spark that we had, and it wasn't
Yeah.
business; it was more about the passion, right? So that's
Yeah.
the kind of people we are trying to connect with, and people who want to learn this academy. So simply
Hmm.
put, we are calling it the premium marketplace, where we are connecting good, qualified, vetted people who love their pets as much as the pet parents do, making that connection. But we also
Right.
want to have an academy where we want to have multiple courses. We want to train people who want to get into that. We do
Got
have
it.
small courses for pet parents,
Mm-hmm.
like how to walk your dog or how to teach your dog sit down, stay, whatever it is. We do have the small, mini courses, but primarily we are focusing on pet professionals who want to get it either full time, part time. Right? It's their choice.
Got it. So essentially, from what I understand, you are trying to make you are trying to give pet parents trusted professionals, right? So you're
Absolutely.
taking on the task of actually saying that we've verified that these people are qualified to now perform these tasks for you, and we're
Correct.
giving them that stamp of verification, which is
Correct.
quite interesting, because typically there's not a lot of information around um, what training is to begin with, and then
Yeah.
to make that leap from there to, okay, this is the kind of trainer you want to go to also is It's quite a journey that I'm sure each trainer has to take on with
Correct.
pet parents as well. So
Correct.
how do you, if you can tell us a little bit about how that has been, right? The last year, like you said, relocation and certification for professionals. How has that looked for you? I'm guessing relocation would not have been a big deal last year, or
Yeah, I think you're putting it very nicely, Garima.
uh,
Yeah, with the airline industry grounded, we hardly had, of course, right? People were not moving, pets were not
correct?
moving. But I think closer to September, October, the airlines started taking pets, but as cargo only. So we did send
Okay.
a lot of pets were stuck with people here, different places and all that.
Hmm.
So we kind of cleared that, all the ones that we had committed to, we cleared. But then we realized that maybe we want to put our focus, time, and effort into now just training people to become professionals,
Yeah.
and then we put them on to the platform. So uh, I don't know if it's a good thing, bad thing. I think time will tell. But that's the
Hmm.
decision we took during the
Right.
pandemic. We
Yeah.
want to focus on educating, because if you look at it, I come in from formally 10 years I've been running this, right? And we have launched a company, we have done multiple things. So the walking pet sitting, March 2020, we were close to about 1,000 services per month we were providing. So walking,
Wow.
pet sitting, home boarding, etc. So we had that much traction going on.
Yeah.
But we felt that it was easier to connect the people who we have trained directly, because we don't want to make that commission during this time. So we
Hmm.
just put the platform in so that they can still continue, people who want the services there. But yeah, coming back to your question, of course, that it is more about because we see a lot of pet parents. There's a lot of places that they can go to, right? If they say
Hmm.
trainer, there are
Hmm.
multiple levels of trainers starting from, I don't know, like 500 rupees a month to about 25, 30,000, 50,000 a month also. How does one
Yeah.
say who is the right trainer for me, right?
Yeah.
See, because people have different, now people are all well read. Everybody reads and there's a lot of YouTube videos, but to choose that, somebody says, I want a particular methodology that I would like my trainer to, right?
Yeah.
Can we find that? If we don't sync between us, then I think the training is not going to, and poor thing, the dog is the one that's going to take the brunt of it, right?
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we are able to give at least a few options to the pet parent, saying, hey, these are the options, but understand who your trainer is, find the right
Hmm.
trainer. So like that,
Hmm.
we want to make sure that we can move into all the service areas where the pet parent has to just come in and choose, not spend time in searching, right? That
Hmm.
searching we have done, validated, maybe trained, all that. It's just about you make the right connection with the right person.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a very fair point to make, right? Because you don't really know what you're getting into with somebody who's going to spend so much time with your dog, right? And in a lot of cases, because you may not know whether it's the right thing to do, you don't want a negative experience and then realize after that that I shouldn't have done this.
Absolutely.
Same with boarding, same with
Yeah.
relocation, right? They're all such high trust
Correct.
activities that you don't want to just hand your dog over to somebody else.
Yeah.
So how do you, if I could ask just city as well, when you're looking for or when people sign up to do these courses, right? I think I lost you for a bit.
I can see you.
Okay, perfect. So video
Okay.
is loading, but I think the audio is fine. So I think
Oh,
we'll
okay.
just
Okay.
come back. But yeah, so if yeah, you're back.
Okay.
Um, so when you actually start these courses, right, with people who sign up, what are some of the important things that you would give them as knowledge, right? That this is everything you should be doing to take care of the dog in the best way.
So if I'm understanding the question, this is for the people who want to become professionals. Is that right? Or
Yeah,
are you talking
yeah, yeah, yeah.
professionals? So see, there are two aspects to this, right? When you talk of professional, there are two aspects. One is the theory part of it, right?
Hmm.
Which is also right. It's available, but in bits and pieces and whatever. One is the theory part. The second is the practical part. Now, what we believe and what has worked really well for us is that we have to give an equal weightage to both these. Right?
Hmm.
If you just go, because we're dealing with pets and animals and it's a very hands-on kind of a thing, right? Just by learning theory doesn't qualify, right? I think in my opinion, my very
Yeah.
personal opinion, does not qualify someone to become a trainer, because once you see a dog and if you're not able to have that interaction, right? All the theory that you have learned, you may not be able to use it at all. But you need to
Hmm.
understand why a dog is behaving a certain way. right? So
Yeah.
the theory is important. So our structure is exactly focused on this, right? Roughly, we say that theory we will do about say 35 hours of theory session where we talk about different kind of learning. We talk of body language. We talk of different barks, growls, commands, how it's taught. The whole jing bang of the theory part we go. Then what we do is we have these people, or the puppy trainers who train under us. We have them go to pet parents' house where somebody from our team is also doing the online session with the pet parent, where we are
Okay.
teaching the pet parent how to train the dog. But our trainers go in and they get exposure to about at least 3 dogs, where they do the hands-on. The
Got
sit
it.
down, stay. They see how the dog is reacting, because once you touch and feel, it's a completely different. Then all
Hmm.
the learning you can ask when you're doing the theory, when you're doing the practical, you can ask them the theory. They would have forgotten, because at that time they're just about, I don't know what the dog was doing, and I was saying, and we are saying we've learned about this, right? So it's a
Yeah.
completely different experience, and if we do not combine these two, I think we're setting them up for failure. So we're making sure we give
Hmm.
both sides of it, such that, and then we also give one last one where they say that they will be the front ending to the customer, but we are going to be shadowing them to make sure that there's nothing. I mean, they're
Got
doing
it.
everything correctly, and whatever. See, because end of the day, somebody has to champion the dog. Because
Hmm.
if there are trainers who are not doing, forget they don't train, that's okay, right? Or they goof up on the job or whatever, that's fine. But they shouldn't do anything that can negatively impact a dog's behavior or growth or whatever, right? It could
Yeah.
be a nice
Yeah.
puppy, but because they have used very high negative correction, the dog can
Hmm.
turn out to be a biter. And if that
Hmm.
happens, nobody will take the dog. The dog will go straight to a shelter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rest of your life is gone. So we want to
Right.
make sure that we try and get the right balance. So
Hmm.
hence our courses are also slightly longish. So we,
Hmm.
we are in fact coming up with a pet relocator course in
Yeah.
May. So exactly
Right.
we're doing the same thing. There's going to be theory for about 5 days, and then for 6 months we will mentor them. So they'll be
Oh,
handling.
nice.
We'll
Huh.
be talking to parents and all that. They'll just shadow us. They understand that. Then we put them onto the platform, and then they're on their own.
Yeah.
Of course, we are still reachable, because
Huh.
end of the day, course is one thing, but if they are running into trouble, I think we need to be available to them. If not for anybody, I think it is for the dog or the cat
Hmm.
or whichever is the pet.
Got it. So you constantly remain at the back just as somebody who's a mentor, kind of helping out whenever there's a situation. But
Absolutely.
it's good to know that there's also, I mean, it is on the job training as well, right?
Yeah.
Which is a
Yeah.
little rare
Yeah.
to come
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But very interesting. I think let's go into some of the questions because
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
somewhat similar to what we've been talking about, right?
Mhm.
The first one that we've seen a lot of conversation around is when people are moving overseas, right? How does someone take their dog with them, right? How does that process work through a relocation program?
Okay, so see, there are 3 ways that you can travel with your dog internationally. We have one.
The
Sorry,
dog is
that's
making his presence known.
yeah. So this is one of my boarding
Uh,
dogs. That she's here.
uh,
Come here, come. Good girl.
what's her name?
Bella, Bella,
Hi, Bella.
Bella. Oh, she can't. She's a little. She's
Uh,
she's here for some behavior correction. So she's
okay.
not the friendliest of dogs. So that's why she gets spooked very quickly. So she's picked on
Uh,
something. uh,
uh,
Sorry.
no
Yeah,
worries.
what I was saying was, yeah, there are 3 ways that you can move a pet. One will typically be what we call as accompanied baggage, which is
Okay.
basically like how you take your baggage. So you go with your pet into the passenger terminal, check the pet in. You
Hmm.
fly on the same flight, but the pet will get checked in the hold of the aircraft. So the
Okay.
advantage of, and then you reach wherever the destination, and then people can, you check them out, show the
Hmm.
paperwork, etc., documentation, you're out. But
Hmm.
it doesn't happen in all cases. So slightly larger
Okay.
dogs will not be able to go in. There are some countries which will say we will not accept pets as a company baggage, so on and so forth. But in my
Hmm.
opinion, this is the fastest way to do it. It's quick,
Hmm.
right? So
Okay.
because you're only 2.5 hours before you'll hand over the pet, and you'll get the pet also quicker. Transit is shorter. The
Got it.
second is what we call as manifest cargo. Manifest
Okay.
cargo typically means you check the pet in as cargo. So you check
Okay.
from the cargo terminal, and
Hmm.
then once you reach the destination, then you'll need cargo, freight forwarders and custom clearing and all that. So it's a slightly more elaborate process in terms of
Hmm.
documentation, paperwork, and all that. But that's the one that, by and large, across the world, that's the one that is used a lot more because of all these other restrictions that we have. Right.
Right.
So that is a cargo option. However, in cargo, everything is like longer. I told you, right? So you
Mm.
hand over the pet like maybe 6 hours before. Transit is minimum, 4.5, 5 hours. Even
Mm.
receiving, you will have some time, so on and so forth.
Mm.
But there are reservations on that. People are saying, how does my pet stay? Is it air conditioned? Is there air pressure? All that is taken care, of course. That's
Okay.
to the
Yeah.
with. And the last option, and this is something that I believe, right, that we have pioneered, will be what we call as a premium option. So we
Okay.
came up with this saying that where people are unable to travel and they also don't want to put their pet in the cargo,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's possible, then somebody will travel. Like typically, I would travel at least
Got it.
till before the pandemic hit. So that's what we
Mm.
call as a premium service. So there we
Got it.
would check the pet in along with us, and then we would do the whole everything end to end, right? So we become
Got it.
the guardian of the
Yeah.
pet in some sense.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
primarily, those are the three options.
Got it. So that's how you actually make the move. But I know that you do a lot of prep even before this happens, right? I know there's a
Oh yeah,
piece around crate training and stuff that
yeah,
works as well. What are
yeah.
you trying to manage in that phase first, and how do you kind of manage that?
See, there are lots of things that come in, Garima. I think one of the bigger things is, of course, the crate training, like you mentioned, right? If the pet is not comfortable in the crate, then they get very stressed, and then they want to come out of the crate, so on and so forth. So that is something. Apart from that, we manage everything end to end. Like say, there are in different countries will require something called a rabies titer test. Some other countries require some other lepto and some other
Yeah.
e-kinase and all kinds of tests that are there.
Mm.
So we know the documentation, microchipping has to be done, and there are timelines. And before 10 days, you have to get a health certificate, you have to get some endorsement done on certain certificates. It has to be done within, like, say, if you're going to Europe, between 2 to 5 days of travel, there is something happening, right? So there are
Mm.
many things around it. So a lot of pet parents may or may not be completely aware. So we say, hey, listen, we'll take care of everything end to end. We'll make sure that even if you need pickup, drop, boarding, whatever it is, right? And crate
Yeah.
training at our boarding facility, we do all that and just basically hand over the pet at the destination.
Right. Amazing. That sounds like a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
But it's good to know that there are people who can
yeah,
kind of handle
yeah,
it end to end.
yeah,
The other question is around training, right? And this is something that I'm sure you face quite a bit, right? When somebody thinks about getting a puppy or a dog, the initial phase is they're still a little manageable because they're young and they're small and you can pick them up and it's cute.
yeah.
So is training necessary when you get a puppy? What is your opinion on this?
See, I mean, and I get this. You're right, right? We do get this asked a lot, saying that should we even get a trainer? Should we train? Whatever it is, right? Training as a concept, if you ask me, it's like I always ask this and say that would you ever deprive your kids of education, right? You would
Hmm.
send them like something, right? Homeschooling, school, something. The reason we do that is because you want them to learn certain things. You also teach them things, how to behave in the society, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There's, you meet other kids. You see how, I mean, you have to integrate yourself into the into the whole culture, right?
Yeah.
Um, and we are the same species at the end of it. Now we are looking
Hmm.
at a completely different species that behaves, talks, not talks, communicates very, very differently. And we have got
Yeah.
that into our society. And if we don't tell that poor creature, hey, these are the things that I'm okay with, these are not the things I'm okay with, how is that one even going to understand? And we are saying we're going to
Hmm.
keep this species in our homes and lives and bedrooms, and we are in such close proximity. When I'm saying, right, same species itself, when we're going through so much trouble, if it's a different species, why will we not? We have to,
Hmm.
expectation have to be set. We have to teach them what's okay, what's not okay, etc., right? So that is really my take on this. I believe that we
Yeah.
have to put in that time and effort, because it's not for us. It becomes very unfair to the dogs or the cats if we don't tell them what's okay, what's not okay. And that is really
Yeah.
what training is about. And it's not about you have to get in with a trainer. If there are a lot of people who've done training by themselves. I have done training when I started off. I trained my own dogs. Of course, it took
Hmm.
me a lot more time and a lot more mistakes and all that. And that's what happens with a trainer. You don't make mistakes, right? You don't need to
Hmm.
reinvent the wheel. But
Yeah.
whatever, right? I mean, but you have to put the time and effort into working with your pet, communicating with your pet. I mean, it has to, even cats. I feel that you
Yeah.
have to put in that time and effort. It cannot be that I will bring in a species and expect that one not to, I mean, just to behave. It will
Yeah.
just not happen,
Yeah.
right?
And
So it is,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, no, sorry,
And
go ahead.
and I think the converse as well, right? That are you training your puppy or are you training yourself, right? In a lot of
Absolutely.
ways it is you getting used to the fact that you've got this new member in the family who thinks differently, does things differently.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's actually an activity that you do along with your pet rather than I have to get my pet trained, right? Because you have to change a lot about the way you think about
Correct.
things as well.
Correct. No, no,
Um,
absolutely right. I think you're bang on over there. Is that because when we do the training, a lot of people come back and say, "Oh, is that how it is? I didn't realize. Oh, this is how we
mm,
should be doing." Like simple things like when the dog is getting stressed,
yeah.
most people tend to comfort the dog, right? But
Mm,
when we tell them when you comfort your dog in a stress situation, you're actually reinforcing that. And
mm,
that's like a light bulb moment. And we're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I know it makes sense. Yeah, so you're right. And when we do
mm.
that, it happens both ways.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
There's
but
actually
I
one
have to
question in the
put in time and
comments.
effort
Maybe you
again.
can quickly address. How can I? Suv underscore XO is asking, how can I get my year-old Shih Tzu to become more friendly with other dogs? Any tips you have? Quick tips for him.
See, I think it's all about the more you socialize, the more you take your pet out. I think your pet will get used to. But the key here is that do not socialize your puppy because you're still one year, right? 1 year Shih
Yeah,
Tzu, right? If you
year-old.
try
Yeah.
and socialize your puppy with another puppy, it's not a socializing. Then it becomes a play date where it's just rough
Mm,
and tumble and everything, and the puppies don't learn anything from each other except for play and chase.
yeah. Yeah.
Socialize with an older, calmer dog, right? The more you expose your puppy to older, calmer dogs, the more your puppy learns behavior. And the older, calmer dog also in some dogs will correct. But like that's the
Mm,
key here. It has to be a calmer dog, not a hyper
mm.
dog, and cannot be a very youngish dog, which is not social. A social, older, calmer dog. That's the more you expose your puppy, the puppy learns a lot more from them.
Got it. Cool. Next question. This is actually more from me than anybody else, which is how do you become a canine trainer, right? And I wish somebody had told me that this was an option when I was younger. But how do you set about doing that?
Well, I think it's just the interest and the passion, right? So if you have the
Mm,
interest and the passion today, I think there are many places where you can go and you can get certified. I
yeah.
can talk about our training program is that. So of course we do look at someone who comes in with a little bit of understanding of pets and should have had pets, work with them because otherwise starting from scratch to become a trainer can be quite a bit of a uphill task. So if they've had for a couple of years and they work with pets, then we teach them the whole basics. Then like I told you, right? There'll be theory and then there's a
On the
hands-on part
job.
also. We just finished a training. I mean, the theory part at least we finished last week. So now the
Okay.
trainers, yeah. So we've added 5 more. So
Hmm,
all the trainers are on-job
hmm,
training as we speak.
hmm. Awesome. So basically, anybody who's also curious, please keep track of the Anvis page. They keep announcing when they do their courses also. Always
Yeah,
a good way to get started.
yeah, yeah.
So this one is a little bit of a medical question, but if you've had experience with it, I'm sure you know people who can help. Neha has a beagle with bronchitis and liver dysfunction. How can she take care of these issues at home?
No, I don't think I'm qualified to give advice
Hmm.
on that. I think the vet, or if you think that maybe things are not going okay or you're not comfortable, take a second opinion, maybe even a third opinion if need be.
Hmm.
But I unfortunately am not qualified to give any kind of advice on
Awesome.
that.
Yeah, maybe we'll try and post it later, and somebody can
Yeah,
help with this.
sure, sure.
Yeah, so I think that's more or less, I think we've covered more than what the questions were, which is
Okay.
great. Um, so that was everything we did around Q&A, right? But what I want to also know is you've had dogs pretty much your entire life, right? Before you even started Anvis, you said you had 5 dogs before that. What is your advice to pet parents?
Uh, so I think it's more about, and these are some of the mistakes that I have also done. Right?
Hmm.
It's not like I'm absolving myself from that. But please do research before you bring in. I know that pandemic has caused a lot of things, and many times you just feel that maybe you feel you're ready to have a pet in,
Hmm.
but it's a 15 year, and I think this is something that has been told and said many times by many people, but we don't realize the responsibility till we actually bring a pet home, right? Bringing a pet home is the easiest that you can do. Right? There are loads of shelters, there are lots of dogs and cats that are for adoption. Lots of things happening.
Yeah.
I also say that do not get caught up in the emotional side of things as well, and say I will bring in, and then you're not ready for it, because again it's unfair for the dog. Plan properly. So whatever you're doing, think about it, whether everybody in the family are okay with that. The only thing is, if you bring a pet, I think it should be that, you for at least 15 years, right? And if you're lucky, we get more than that, but at least, 12, 15 years, have to ensure that you stick with them through good
Yeah.
and bad. All right. If you're traveling, you have to ensure that you are going to be taking the pet with you. There's going to be high expense, but make sure that you prepare for that, so on and so forth. Okay? That's my only thing is, rather than telling people when they're at the cusp of something happening and saying, hey, I want to do this, I want to give up my pet, this is not okay, I'm not able to train my dog and I want to give up. Just go a few steps back and think, did you really want a pet in your life? As much as you feel you want it, can you live up to that response? If the answer is yes and everybody agrees, by all means, right? And I know some fantastic pet parents who have gone, I'm sure you would have also seen and met, like they've gone above and beyond, right? It brings, like, even when I think of it, I'm like, wow, these guys are really doing, I'm nothing right in front of them. On the other spectrum, we see some people who are just like, for the silliest of reason, they're saying they got in a pet, and for the silliest of reason, they're just giving it. It's not like a joke, right? So that's my only thing is just research. Know if you really want a pet, what is the dog or cat or whatever that works well, then go for it. I mean, by all means, jump into it.
Yeah.
That's really something that we constantly keep going back, and that really is the foundation of the whole thing, right? The idea of services was that just in case someone has got it and then they find that, okay, they don't have help, we are also saying help is an arm's away, right? You want training, you want walking, you want pet sitting, you want to travel with your dog, you want to board. We are here to support you. But do not, you make use of this if you can, but do not make a decision which you'll not be able to sort of fulfill for 15 at least years.
Yeah. No, I think makes a lot of sense. And I think research in every aspect, right? One basic, of course, can you handle a dog, right, for the long term? Then can you handle everything else that comes along with it as well, right? Changes in your own life. What kind of dog are you bringing home, right? All of that is, I mean, there are lots of things that you should definitely be researching on along the journey. One small thing, Anand, quickly, if you can also tell us, Sneha wants to know when the premium relocation service is starting back. Any idea on that?
Yeah, so 5th of May is when we are launching. So it's going to go
Okay.
5th of May to 9th of May. That's the
Okay.
theory.
Okay.
So we are doing it both formats, online and offline format. So we are actually trying to target people who can come in from different cities, like say maybe
Got it.
Mumbai, Pune, Kolkata, Hyderabad, that kind of a thing. Bangalore, because we already have a few relocators, but we want to try and see if we can get this out to multiple places.
Got it.
So people who cannot fly down to Bangalore, or I don't know how the situation is going to be, online format is there.
Okay.
But after that, the 6-month mentorship anyway is there. So wherever you are, we
Got
can
it.
help run mentors.
Got it. So that's for people who want to train to become relocators, right?
Absolutely.
And then your platform is where people can find relocators in their city or somebody who can help with that service, right?
Correct.
Awesome. So Sneha, you can check out the Anvis website for that also.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Anand. I think that we're done with our time. Thank you so much for taking out the time to do this. I've definitely learned quite a bit. And I'm sure everybody who's going to listen to this is going to gain a lot from your experience. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Garima. I think it was a pleasure talking to you. We've had earlier chats, but I think this is a good formal chat. But thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.